school taxes and township taxes by putting in those houses. I mathematically took the formula that I used when I was a developer. You take the acres, you times it by 60 to 65%, you come out with the lots. I come out with 149 sitting at the kitchen table tonight. Mathematically do that, that's 1.4 million at today's current tax bill. Every house that's built in Walnut Ridge, and you know exactly what I'm going to tell you, his tax bill's between $8,500 and $9,000 a year, somewhere in that area, close, okay? You don't have that in other parts of the township. You're missing an opportunity that does exist. We have a good school district, we're at a great location, we have good roads in here, but there's no housing stock available. So they're going elsewhere. That's exactly what's happening.
There's open space available.
Where, sir?
North of this property.
Yes.
There's open, west of it.
Yes.
That's owned by a land developer. It's owned R2.
Okay.
The land up in Egypt.
Land up in Egypt, you were proposed several times to do an overlay zone. The overlay zone that builder brought in here, you didn't give him no more than 15 minutes of time, but we have hours in the hospital to overlay all of our residential zone. Hear me out.
Yeah.
They present a case to you tonight that says there's 24 houses left. Look at the plan. It's landlocked. You can't even use it.
We know that.
I understand, but that's not what they tell the public.
Right.
And all I'm saying is the crossroads that we're going down, hospital, warehouse, office building, but we do need residential property in this township that is half acre, if that's the case. We don't need any more townhouses. We don't need any more apartments. I'll be the first guy to say that, okay? But we do need, for the sake of discussion, upper middle price range houses between $500,000 and $750,000. We don't have it here. And I'm going to tell you, 45 houses in Nazareth I built. That's where they are. 35% were from the medical field. Go up north again, same thing from the medical field. The medical field in Lehigh Valley is what's driving our economy, whether we like it or not. That's exactly what's going on. We don't capitalize on it. But we will consider to give them 125 acres, tax-free, out of our coffers, of which the traffic that's being built north comes down our roads, uses our roads, causes our traffic jam, and they don't live in a township. So when they use that as an example, we're not going to benefit. The gals in here said we're 10 minutes from the other places. The people who are going to benefit is going to tell you who? Palmerton, Lehigh Township, Washington Township, Walnutport. And what's that going to do? Bring traffic into our area. Hospitals do close. And if you don't believe it, go look at Palmerton and go look at Lehighton. Two places in towns, because I was just up there and visit those places. So the bottom line is, houses don't go away. Oh, they may change in different things, but it is part of developing the community. So I don't look at that as high traffic, high ever. I look at it as part of the fabric of our community. Our average price range in residential housing in this area, in our township, is about $150,000 less than the rest of the other places. That's a fact. So you have to take that into consideration, but invest your open space. But when you're looking at this project over here, put that in the back of your mind, because that is something that is a prime location for residential development and is a good tax revenue for our community. Does that make sense?
Our staff, in fairness to our staff, they did forward us numbers of what it was worth residentially.
How close am I?
So,
$3,100 per township
Yeah,
per lot.
that's right, 3,000. It's a magical number.
so our staff did the homework and presented those numbers to
And
us.
that doesn't count the earned income and all the other stuff that goes with it. Yes, that's all I'm saying. So don't get carried away that we don't want housing, but we need it. In the same token, we don't necessarily need 8,000 square foot building lots where the houses are by X by X. 1 acre doesn't cut it, but the other one does. That's all I'm saying. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I would add too that Roosevelt Drive, this land is adjacent to Roosevelt.
I know.
The people, there was an apartment complex proposed there, adaptive reuse, and their big concern was traffic. So these roads are built tight. So that's why this is different than any other
There's a
parcel.
saying in the development business, now that I got mine, you can't have yours. So when
Or not in my backyard either.
right, that's kind of like the way it works, okay? So, but progress is something that does occur. The community's expanding from Allentown out. Go back 20 years ago, you know where we were as a community, where we are now. And let's just be honest about it. We're not a community that has a lot of options for growth. We're pretty well tied in. What we do depend on is our retail. 50% of it is vacant down there in the wall, I guess, the Whitehall Mall, this particular arrangement. And I'm concerned about our tax base. So $1.4 million in taxes represents to this township, which is not really fair, 2 mills. I think a mill is approximately $700,000.
No, not since reassessment, it's $2 million.
Oh, say reassessment went down. So the bottom line is, it does make a big difference. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the floor?
Well, can I just say one last thing? I just want to commend the township on a repurpose.
Can you please state your name?
Karen Pashofko, 719 Glenwood Street in Emmaus, not anymore, 3303 Musselman Court. I want to commend the township on the repurpose of a building next to Renninger's. It's the Phoenix. It's all spas. My cutter.
Oh, yes, in the shopping center
cutter-
next to Redner's.
She moved from downtown Allentown to that building, and it's all small little shops for individual folks that do hair, makeup, and it's a wonderful use of a building. Is the township thinking about repurposing the Sears building?
Well,
You
yes,
know, we have
there's a developer that owns that. We had nothing to do
You
with
had nothing to do
the
with
spa thing. They're subletting space to hair care professionals.
But still, it's a great use of a building.
Sure.
And as we're looking for money for the township, I'm just encouraging you to repurpose buildings rather than build on open space.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Any more comments from the floor? Can you please poll the board?
Commissioner Warren? Aye. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Attia?
Yes.
Commissioner Roman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
President Hart?
Yes.
Passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Reports of public officials. I guess I'll start with Mr. Roman.
Yeah, I just want to read a letter into the, see if I can get this thing, thing fell asleep on me here. All right. Mr. Pelagian brought up the issue of what we're doing in terms of the treasurer's office or the former treasurer's office situation. And President Marks read a few letters from the auditing company and things like that. And then as a result of the last workshop meeting last week, instead of me verbally discussing this, I just wrote a letter to the Board of Commissioners to consider my position on this, which is I believe we need to make the tough calls and we need to hold people accountable. So this is what I wrote, and I just want this to be a part of the record. It said, to all concerned, after tonight's jump ball advice from our solicitor concerning the next steps regarding the former treasurer not able to produce the documents needed to conduct a charter-required audit, we either hold the former treasurer accountable with a civil suit or we continue to make excuses for her and we make our audit requirement and the paper our charter is written on a joke and worthless piece of paper. Why make a law and not enforce it? If there is no longer the rule of law, we have a banana republic and have violated our oath of office. The remedy of a charter change that requires additional financial credentials is terribly misguided, no matter how much time we spend on it. If someone will not take their fiduciary responsibilities as an elected official seriously, having a few extra letters, i.e. CPA, next to their name is irrelevant and completely misses the point. The issue here is dereliction of duty, and that can only be remedied by sending a message of strict accountability, not excuses and misguided ballot initiatives to make people feel good that something was done, even though it will do nothing to correct future irresponsible elected treasurers. The military deals with dereliction of duty, and it doesn't include taking a few more accounting classes or telling the public there's nothing to see here. Apparently, Commissioner Sloniker and Warren do not want to hold the former treasurer accountable, but I do. I also do not want to hide this mess from the citizens of Whitehall. I want full transparency and effective legal action taken. This mess will not go away until we as a board put our big boy pants on and hold her accountable and restore the lost money to our taxpayers promptly. The school district was smart enough to collect on her bond. Why can't we? We need the mayor to be held accountable for his sexual harassment foibles. We need to hold his sister accountable for her dereliction of duty and return some standards of conduct back to local government and make Whitehall whole again. If we don't uphold standards of excellence in government, what kind of example are we setting for our kids and our grandkids? I hope the majority of you have the courage to stand with me. If not, I'm willing to stand alone. I take my oath seriously. Your constructive response is welcome. Your silence will speak volumes. Best wishes, Andy Roman.
Now, Mr. Roman, you mentioned me.
All along, it's our advice to follow
The advice of our solicitor, whether it's a lawsuit for another department, which are there a number. We settled for a $375,000 HUD lawsuit. We didn't say we're going to take somebody to court and make them pay that back. So my position is, I mean, your article in the paper, you did not tell them about the nearly $15,000 in cash that was recovered in that office. That has slipped through the news. Why, people? Why? They don't want you to know that. Why didn't you tell them that?
I have no control over what money.
No, you talked to the press. You could have told them that. Nearly $15,000 in cash that was recovered.
There was no report stating that 15,000 was recovered.
You haven't been reading your material.
Well, all I'm saying
but,
is,
but I guess-
I believe you made a proposal to have the audit conducted on a yearly
Yes.
basis, correct? And
Absolutely.
I commend you for doing that.
Yes.
But what is the use of an audit if it's not completed because there's no paperwork or no documents to justify or substantiate the audit? The whole process is a sham. We have to hold people accountable. And I use the military example. Dereliction of duty is different from not having extra credentials with accounting classes behind your name. It's a totally separate issue. This is not an issue of credentials. It's an issue of responsibility, and I believe we need to hold people responsible. And I even mentioned the school district collected on her bond. Why can't we? So I'm just raising these questions because just kicking this down the road, acting like nothing's happening, is not going to resolve this issue.
Correct.
That's
And
my point.
If there was actionable information that we could proceed, I'd be for it. I just can't, at this point, what are we going to recover from a failed audit? Or an audit that wasn't complete? Are you going to go back and get the $77,000 from that? That they're two different issues. I guess that's my question.
The question isn't of what I'm going to do. It's an issue of what are we going to do as a board to hold the former treasurer accountable. We're either going to do something or we're not. That's all I have to say.
First of all, I just want to correct something here. We are not talking about the missing money. We are talking about our fiduciary responsibility to have this audit performed for the reconciliation of the treasurer's office. If Mr. Roman's speaking about the missing money, that's a separate issue. What we're talking about is the audit that can't be performed by RKL and getting the necessary information compiled to have the audit performed, which we don't think is going to happen. Do you agree, Mr. Roman?
Exactly. I mean, accountability is very important. I mean, again, I said standards of conduct. You can't let this stuff go on and not hold people accountable. I mean, the federal government, the state government, they're used to doing that, and I guess maybe that's the new norm. People do things against the law. They have misappropriation of money. There's people that are doing things that are not above board, and everybody just throws up their hand and says, oh, well, that's the way it is. I don't believe that's the case. For Whitehall, we should set a high standard of conduct, and we should hold people accountable. That's all I'm saying. I was in the military 20 years. Nobody that I know of could have gotten away with any of this in the military for 2 seconds. That's all I'm saying.
Is that all you have, Mr. Roman?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Fisher?
Thank you, President Marks.
Question on Mr. Roman's statement. There's no news here. Sorry, folks, but I've been involved with this since January. Ken Snyder, 4272 Abigail Lane. I use transparency, and Mr. Slonica got upset with me. January, February, March, April, May, June, nobody knew how much money was gone. All of a sudden, tonight, it's $77,000. And also, school board collected under bond. Why didn't we? Why is it that it takes this to come about? These questions are asked directly by myself and other people.
That question was asked, Mr. Snyder, going back. We submitted an insurance claim with our insurance carrier.
Okay,
When our insurance carrier denied our claim,
okay.
because I guess they didn't feel that our claim was legitimate or
When you say insurance carrier, you mean a bond or you mean the insurance?
insurance,
Okay.
our insurance carrier. The solicitor could explain this in more detail, or Deputy Mayor Myers?
Yeah, the townships, the bond only covers real estate, and the losses in, yeah.
It only covers real estate tax.
The tax collector bond only has real estate in, that's the only thing covered under the.
So you're saying that the bond gave us no recourse. A bond typically is given to a person who handles funds and money, correct? So our bond did not cover our treasurer or anybody who handles money?
No, our employee dishonesty policy, insurance policy.
That's an insurance policy, but I'm using the term bond. Those are two separate things, is that correct? Okay. So in my company, I have dishonesty. That's one. I don't have any bonds, but you apparently have bonds. So did you file against the bonding company?
No, because the township losses to real estate were less than a couple $1,000. And
A bond, then maybe I don't understand. Bond is for any people who handle dollars and cents.
No.
Am I wrong?
No.
It can be bought that way, is that correct?
This isn't a purchased bond. It's a bond through the county for all tax collectors, and it only covers real estate taxes.
So then how did the school district get theirs? And how much was it?
I don't know what their
I didn't
amount
think you would know.
was, but, you know, the school tax losses were 3 times what the township.
So $200,000?
No.
So, okay, no, wait. Hold on, guys. I need numbers, all right? The school district collects property taxes, and the bond covered them because it was school district property taxes. So far, so good.
Yep.
The township collects property taxes, but we weren't covered. I don't understand that because
Because
of
it was
both taxes.
garbage, most of the money was garbage fee revenues.
You know that for a fact.
Yes. At least that's what the Bucknell-Lisicki audit showed.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher.
I got to tell you guys, I mean, I don't get upset with the township, but, you know, I've been going over this now for 9 months with you guys on different things, and we got to clean up our house.
Yeah,
I mean, we got to clean our house up.
We know that.
This is not good.
We are doing it.
I understand.
From the mess that we had, believe me, I was president of the board
I
when
know.
all this started. 3 months ahead of me becoming president of the board. You have no idea the 2-year mess it was. And I read a statement in the beginning of 2021 of what we all knew and what the forensic audits were and why the district attorney couldn't go any further, why our police couldn't go any further. The FBI was dropped, investigation, they couldn't go. So we know the mess. We've been in L&L trying to rewrite what we expected to happen with the township money going into the future, which will be hopefully on the ballot. It will be a ballot question. Do you want to continue with the treasurer as is, or do you want to go to what we're proposing
Chief
when
Financial
we get
Officer.
that far? So pay attention.
So, hold on a second. So as we're moving forward, you know what?
No, it's, the people up here were elected. She wants to go ahead and give you something because it impacts her, obviously.
It does not impact her at this
But,
point, Tom. Tom, you have not done your job for 20 years sitting here. Let's
Is
be
that
honest
right?
about it.
Let's, Mr. Schneider, let's.
I understand. No, wait a second.
We're not allowed to
Gentlemen.
attack, just like this, we're not allowed to attack others on the board. We're not allowed to attack you. When you say something that is not correct, we certainly can go ahead and correct you. You can correct me, because You seem to
So
try and
then
do it
you
all the
explain to
time.
me, you explain to me why the other 50 people left, why this topic was not said at meeting number 1, meeting number 2, on the Board of Commissioners, any type of report. I have no problems with this lady's trying to do. She got a mess, okay? But why does it not, why aren't we informed? I mean, that's a fair question.
Mr. Roman,
Yes?
he wanted to read this into the record. It's not anything that we were going to discuss. He wanted to read what he wrote to a
So
letter
in
to
March and
all of
April,
us.
when I asked you these questions, and when we were talking specifically about the treasurer's office and the bills not being sent out and the disarray that it was put in and all the other good stuff going on, how is it that we went this many months and no one brought it up? Does any commissioner feel like
Oh,
I'm
this
asking an
was-
unfair question?
No.
To us,
This,
not to
this,
you.
this was brought up.
Not to us out here.
Oh, yes, it was. I brought this up many, many times. Mr. Schneider, before you started coming back to meetings.
Okay.
This was out in the open. This was published in the press. This was loud and clear. The message was sent out to the public.
Okay.
Nothing was this, well, let me tell you something. Let me give you my spin on it. The last 3 years on this board has been hell.
I know.
And very challenging. I run a business, I have a family, the whole deal. I'm not complaining, I know what I signed up for. I'm a Marine, hey, let's go. But I will say, public officials can get away with murder in this state. And public officials who are honest and try to do the right thing, there are no tools in the toolbox to give them the ability to get out to the public and let them know about the bad apples in public service. It's very, very frustrating.
I understand.
But we're trying our damnedest, or some of us are.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Corn, what did you want to say?
I just want to make a statement that anybody sitting out there, this has nothing to do with me. I started in January, and I'm working my 6 to 4 every day to try to clean up what wasn't happening before. I'm saying nothing bad about the previous treasurer, but this has nothing to do with me.
I know.
What bothers me is that I came into this office and there was no audit done. And I still can't wash my hands because I don't know what happened before. So some of this could fall back on me.
I agree.
Because they didn't draw that line at December 31st and said, okay, now this is yours. So some of this could fall back on me, and I wanted this audit done so they could close the book on the last 4 years. So it does bother me that RKL can't come back and finish this audit. They gave me a lot of recommendations on how to fix things, and I implemented every recommendation they gave me. I don't know what to say, but I don't want to be blamed for anything from the past. I just wish they could finish this audit.
I understand, and I know there's some commissioners that are unhappy that I show up here, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on, okay, that has to be called to the table. Would I give the Lehigh Valley Hospital a rough time? Probably not, but we know in previous meetings, there was things discussed by the administration that the Board of Commissioners were not given. And the answer was that we were a strong mayor background in our charter, and you weren't given that. So the question that really could have been asked is, do you have all the information you need? Did you get all the reports? Because previous arrangements, when I used the word transparency, that did not happen 4 months ago. We know it. That's all I'm saying. So somewhere down the line, this board has to prove to themselves that they're back on track doing what they want. And when you call and ask for a document, and they tell you fill out the right to know form, it kind of throws you for a looper, if you know what I mean, because that's not the normal policy around this place. That's all I'm saying. That makes sense. I would love to see this get on the right track, like it used to be.
Mr. Fisher?
Okay, thank you. This is going to be very disjointed. I want to address some of the things that were said tonight regarding the treasurer, and then I want to actually talk about happy things. Because I think some of us forget that, you know, why we're here and what this is about, and that there are good things going on. So let's start with the thorns, then we'll get to the roses. Okay, so first off, the way I see it, there are some serious issues with the charter. I would like to compliment Treasurer Corn. I think she's done a great job with what she's been given. I think she's doing her best to put the office back on track, but she's not going to be here forever. we're not gonna be here forever. Nobody in this room is gonna be here forever, but do you know what's gonna be here for a really long time beyond us? Whitehall. There is nothing that can prevent the mess that we just had for the last 2 to 3, 4 years in this township, in that treasurer's office. And I will agree with President Marks. The last 2 years, 2.5 years on this board with what's been going on with COVID, with everything, has been hell. It's been tough. It's been very difficult. But I can say, we've been working on a way to modify the charter that will actually bring accountability to the treasurer's office. Right now, we're having this discussion about what could be done to a public official, what could be done to the treasurer. And we're having a heck of a time figuring out, you know, what remedies actually legally exist. And we take the solicitor's advice very closely. We listen to him. That's why we have one. But the fact of the matter is, there's only so much we can do with the charter. Now, the fact of the matter is, how the charter is written right now, an 18-year-old, is it 18-year-old, 26, I think it's 18, 18-year-old can come out with no financial experience, with no letters behind their name, win a bet, and become the treasurer. Can just say, hey, buddy, like, you know, I'll bet you to run for treasurer. Okay, nobody else is running, they win. No experience, no talent, nothing. And then you think we had a mess before. The modifications that are coming down the pike are going to remedy this. They should hopefully remedy this. I can't give a 100% guarantee, but it's going to give us more of ability to rectify what we've had than what we have now than what we had then. We are not a farming community anymore. We have a tens of millions of dollar budget, and we really need someone who can really carry that out, who can really be a good financial steward for this township. Okay, so that was the thorns. Let's go to the roses, okay? We have good stuff coming up. October 22nd, Whitehall Copley Middle School, we have the e-cycling event coming up, 8 to 12. Bring your electronics, bring your hard-to-recycle items, bring your shredding. Hopefully this year we won't get rained. We have a bunch of scout troops who should be showing up to help volunteer for that. We have an Adopt a Highway coming up on October 29th. More details to follow. That'll be down along Catasauqua Avenue. A few other things I just want to point out, and this is really good, gets to the roses, okay? I've been doing a lot of work with our Cub Scout pack and our Boy Scout troops in the township, because these are really, as I've been emphasizing, these are really the units, and these are really the future of the township, okay? I was with Pack 32 last week. I was helping them on one of their citizenship pins. I talked about, you know, what it means to be a commissioner, how we put legislation through, and a few of the scouts, these are 5th graders, they came forward and they're like, oh, I want to pass a law in the township. We want to have a giraffe. Let's see if we can get a giraffe, like, in the township. Like, we can allow giraffes. And I said to the kids, sure. And we talked to the process, how we would get a giraffe approved there. And one of the kids is like, hey, let's come to one of the township meetings and let's see if we can pass a law as the citizens to get the board to, like, pass a giraffe. And I said, sure, why not? You know, we're enough of a zoo already, so. But they were great. Pause for laughter. We had, last weekend, we had the Cubmobile Derby over in the Whitehall Copley Middle School parking lot. About 30 scouts came out, most from Pack 32. The Lehigh District sponsored it. It was meant as a big recruiting drive. We have a lot of pictures up on Facebook. I'm going to send them around to the board. Hopefully they could be used for promotion. And, yeah, it's roses and thorns, guys. A lot of these meetings are thorns, but there are roses too. And I think sometimes we miss that. So that's all I got. Thank you. God bless.
Mr. Tia.
Okay, just have a couple questions, nothing crazy. Pennsylvania, the house on Pennsylvania, is there an update on where that's at with the,
Jack.
any timeline?
Soon.
Good answer.
You didn't think a lawyer could answer a question in one word.
Well done.
We're working on it.
Okay.
As quickly as we can.
Yep.
And I would say it should be imminent.
Thanks, Jack. The other one, and I apologize if I missed this, but do we have a I'm sure it's probably out there. Is there a rain date for Thursday's parade? There is not. Okay. All right. That was it. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for your patience tonight.
Mr. Gander?
Mayor, we received an email about the blasting at the Egypt Quarry. I guess they're getting a lot of phone calls from the residents in the Ryan Homes
Yeah, there've been some questions.
Division, and the company that owns the quarry has reached out. They want to deal with these complaints. Have we done anything with this? Are you familiar with what
Yes,
went out over the email?
yes. Well, I'm not sure what your email is.
That's the email where that's the response from the employee at the quarry, what they're willing to do to talk to the township residents about their blasting schedule.
This I haven't seen.
This is phase 3 of Philly Motors.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that there have been complaints. There are limited numbers of people who have requested that we do something. I reached out to the DEP. They came in, they did an evaluation, and there wasn't anything that they could find that was inappropriate. There was one time that we had the New Enterprise mine blew up a bunch of stuff, and they had like a cement fog going through cement. I've had concerns from people who have told me at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're hearing the mine is blowing up something. They have this going on. It's not happening. That's the thing. I mean, there has been no indication that anything was going on during that dark period. But I don't know what to tell you about that.
Have we done anything to mediate this between the quarry and the residents there?
I went out.
To get them together, or?
I went out to the person that was having problems. And we had a long conversation. Somebody from DEP came out also. And at this point, they're not seeing anything that's inappropriate at this point.
All right, let me just read.
Except for, if I can just add, Phil, there was a comment about problems with the Haunted Parkway because there were sometime around 10 o'clock, there was noise going on.
No, this is about blasting.
Yeah, but that.
They're not blasting in the parkway for haunted.
No,
No.
they're not.
This is about the blasting.
They're not, and I had not seen that, but I've gotten others, Phil.
Let me just read this, and this is from New Enterprise Egypt Quarry. Our Egypt Quarry on Chestnut Street has received numerous complaints about our blasting from residents in the Ryan Homes Taylor development and also the neighborhood on the opposite side of Route 145. We always return residents' calls, but we also wanted to reach out to the township about these complaints. Has the township received any calls? Would the supervisors or anyone on the board like us to come to a meeting or schedule a separate one to provide a more detailed explanation of blasting procedures and what we do as a mine site? Now, I take this as the owners of this quarry want to come into the community and do the right thing and explain to these two residences close by and anybody else that wants to hear what their procedure is. Now, I know there's some legal procedures that we can't get into because they have a mining permit and stuff, but they want to be open, they want to talk to the residents. My question is, as the mayor, what are you going to do to put these people together, and
I'm happy to do that, Phil.
can you do that?
I absolutely can. When we had the problem in Cementon, I went over to the quarry, and I never found the manager. They told me where he had gone to another location. I chased him around trying to get information, and he wasn't around then.
But here is a commercial enterprise who has a mining permit, federal mining, that want to reach out and do the right things with their neighbors and stuff, and I think we need to encourage this and get everybody together and, you know, this is what we can do and this is what we can't do.
The date on that.
You may have this, because I'm gonna keep it on my notes to check on it next month again, if we've got anywhere with it.
Till September 30th, okay.
It's fairly fresh.
Who signed that? Is that Rusty?
Stephanie Stewart.
And this is for New Enterprise?
Yeah.
Okay, I know the permit officer for New Enterprise. His name's Rusty Taft. I have a cell phone. If you want, I can forward that to you, or I can reach out to Rusty as well.
Well, they've reached out to us, and they've said, we'd like to get together with the residents and explain, you know, what the rules are and what we're going by, and listen to their complaints.
Forwarded that email?
So they've reached out already, and residents have called.
Was this email forwarded to the mayor? I don't see his.
I'm not sure.
I have not seen that.
I'm not sure.
Larissa's copied on it.
Then he must have been wrong, because I don't know why they would have copied me and not him.
Now,
Just says to you.
it's just to Linda and then to you from Stephanie. So, no, I have not seen this, Phil. And
Well, then, we know about it now, and it should be dealt with. To keep, you know, before it turns into a shouting match. All right, that's one. When do you think we'll start work on the rec commission plan again?
the end of this month.
A question for the treasurer. How you making out, I know you inherited this, how you making out with the amusement and game licenses that you talked to us about? Or will you cover that on your report later on tonight?
I don't have it on here, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I do have the form on the website. The company that the township deals with, he's actually making the form up for me at the
Oh, good.
website. And we're gonna mail it out to all the businesses. I'm gonna check with Lee and see if she has a complete list of all the businesses in the township. And when we do our mailing for, you don't have a complete list, all right. I might have to drive around and make a complete list of all the businesses in the township. And in November, we're gonna mail out the new licenses, and we're gonna mail those out at the same time, along with the business privilege tax.
So we are making headway, we are working on this.
Yeah, I just
That's-
have to get the form completed by
good.
that company.
Back to the mayor, have we done anything with the crossing gates on the rail trail? Where they're crossing the main streets? Can we kind of look for when we'll start dealing with that?
There's no, well, I'd look for a grant, and I think that's what we ought to be doing, because we have a lot of places that we need to put those in according to the requirements of our charter on that back in
Because we're lagging in it.
2003.
We're lagging in it.
So, yeah, I would look for,
Maybe we can just take some rec fees and do a couple of them.
How about traffic impact fees?
Well, use
Can't
that for
do-
traffic,
Why
I
not?
don't know.
Egypt, Taylor Villas, where's that money been spent in Taylor Villas?
I don't know offhand where that money's been spent, but it's in the account, and if it's not on the traffic impact list for capital improvements, we cannot use that money for that.
Making safe pedestrian crossing.
Some of that money's been spent at South Church Street and 329 for that traffic improvement on that intersection.
That was done as part of the ARAA federal grants before Taylor Villas was even built.
After Taylor Villas, the Do you remember, they reached out to the Catholic Church, the Catholic diocese, they
okay.
tried to put in a turn lane.
Right.
They did do improvements at that intersection.
At what intersection?
Church and.
South Church and 329, Main Street.
The land at Columbia and MacArthur, the sale appraisal, have we gone ahead with any of that?
Jack?
I haven't heard back yet from the
Appraiser.
We're waiting
Waiting.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not gonna get into the status of the pools, playgrounds at Camp Whitehall, but maybe next month, Mayor, we can get caught up on how we ended the year with that. I don't wanna get into that at this late hour.
We have a report already on what that was.
Yeah, I have the pools and, at least through the end of September, I think from Camp Whitehall, we profited $477.
Yeah, that's-
So it paid for itself.
Yeah, we're, you know,
The
that's fine.
pools were somewhere around 100,000.
Loss.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be getting some kind of report on where we're at with the pools and what needs repairs, and
Well, we're waiting for.
or will that be, just be dumped at budget time?
We're, well, unfortunately, it probably will be closer because the company that did the work up at Cementon still hasn't provided a final.
Final report, so we don't have a final dollar on that.
But it's gonna hurt.
Of course. Last month, there was a resident here about a pigeon problem on Bellevue Drive. Did that information get to you, Mr.?
Yes, that got
Mike?
to me, and I forget who it was, reached out to a state, one of our staff, I don't remember who it was, reached out to the state because the pigeons were being presumptively utilized for food, and they opened an investigation into that.
So it is being looked at?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've been going after that for 2 years. Chris Gittinger's been running around down there, and we just haven't found a way to make him sick when there's a problem.
Now, two more items. The Whitehall Township Industrial Development Authority, their minutes and financials, we have not been getting for a long time.
There's annual reports that are done, audits that are filed.
Yeah, but we should be getting
Then they have-
monthly,
There's
We
not
should-
monthly.
we should be getting a report of every meeting. How do you hold your meetings?
Oh,
Monthly, quarterly? Yeah.
Minutes. They are provided, I guess,
We're not getting them.
The
We
mayor's-
haven't been getting them.
they're not sent to
Okay.
the Board of Commissioners, which is.
All the other authorities send us their minutes for the month.
Didn't know that you weren't getting.
We're not getting them, nor do we have financials of where they're at financially. And the other authorities report that to us.
Okay.
So we should be getting those as this Board of Commissioners. One last thing, we were promised a comprehensive plan for the Pride and Farm. It was promised to us in either July or August. I do not believe we have anything on that yet.
No, we do not have a comprehensive.
Okay, when will the board look forward to having that?
We're applying for grants. We have, you probably got the email that I sent to Joe earlier.
But, and that's understandable, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is, we've talked a long time about there should be a comprehensive plan for down there. Now, we've talked about this a long time ago, and, you know, I
Probably 2
think
years ago.
it should be presented to the board, so the board knows where we're at and where we're heading down there.
And I do not have that for you.
That should be put together and forwarded to this board, so this board has the proper information, that when somebody asks a question, we have an answer. And
Do we have deadlines for any of this stuff? Or do we just talk about it every week or every
I
month?
have a ton more, but at this late hour, I think I covered the major ones, and we'll go from there. I'll pass.
Mr. Soniger?
Frank, I don't know anything about this, but how long do you normally put a wearing course on something? And I bring this up because of the extension that they did for the churning lane in front of the Wawa. And again, it's rough, I understand that, but the yellow line is still there. So you have people that know why they're supposed to be going over there, and other people say, no, I have to wait to the end of that. And I haven't seen even any close things, but I can just imagine that there are gonna be maybe some fender benders there.
Well, I can check with the foreman on the PennDOT crew and see if when they're gonna get that wearing course on there, but that is part of the overlay of the whole road. And I know they're milling up north, coming down from Chestnut. So I don't know what their schedule is, if they're gonna get over there to mill that edge off, which would pull that line off of there as well.
No, and that seemed more than that the road's rough. It seems
Right.
like that line, because I
The line's
see it,
confusing, yeah.
where people,
Yeah.
they don't know where to go over.
Sure, unless we do a Kramer and get the roller out and try that. It might be more efficient, but.
Why can't they finish the job in the first place? Why do we have to keep twisting their arm? I don't get this.
We're talking about a pretty big contract. I mean, I'm not making excuses. I'm just talking from experience where the crews tend to hopscotch around, and whatever schedule they are on that day, whatever the working, whoever they have working on the projects, they may or may not have the right personnel to do certain things. So I know that taking that median out, that took about 2 months to get all that out. And that was about a 15-year fight. Tom, you remember that? And again, it's still not finished yet. But, I mean, I have no control over what they do out there.
But there's nobody that we can call and hold anybody accountable to get something done.
I
Or
can
is that
certainly
their
make some
mercy?
call. Yeah, well, there's contact folks I can get in touch with that are running the project for PennDOT. So I'll give them a call.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay?
Yeah, it just seems like government is just like, whenever we get to it, we'll get to it. If we don't, we don't. So what? It's like, drives me nuts. It's like crazy. Just terrible.
Anything else? Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Larissa, for getting everything set up for this meeting here. I know it was a challenge to get to this point. And thank you, Tina, for answering my questions. As I sent to Commissioner Marks, we were in a pinch trying to apply for a third grant for the Mickley Pride and Farm. Same grant that we applied for on 2 other occasions that this board supported. They were just rolling the application over in for the additional funds. They keep giving us piecemeal parts of the grants. We did a feasibility study that was provided to the board. We can get a copy of this current grant application. The work has started down there. They did the chimney on the small house, and they're going to start the next house probably next week. Glad to hear that the pavilion has been started. NBMA put the water pit in today, and I think the plumber is going to get started this week as well, installing the sewer line. There's something else, but it's been a long meeting. Oh, Frank, one more thing, Mechanicsville Road sidewalk.
We're in the final stages. The mayor actually helped us intervene with a resident who needs to sign off, and that's been a real problem, but we're seeing if we can do a workaround. Anybody who's has frontage on an area that's being changed. PennDOT requires an acknowledgement and more or less an approval, if you will.
Have those letters been sent?
I'm sorry?
Have letters been sent or contact
Oh,
made?
yeah, no, there's been personal contact made as well. One owner is holding out. We're gonna see if we can find a workaround for that, and then we'll get the permit for that. I'm working with Kevin Fogarty on the title work for the property, but according to my staff, they'll issue a conditional permit as long as we're working on all that title work. We have no issue with the title, what PennDOT wants. History in the title going back over 65 years, and that takes some time to put all that together, but we're looking at getting the bids out as soon as it's ready, even if we bid it out in December, I don't care. If we have weather, we could still work on the Debakowitz parcel. We can't work out on the road, but we can work on the sidewalk, the curb, and those issues if we have weather. So we're just gonna keep going.
For the folks in this room, the goal is to connect the library to the McDonald's, the sidewalk. Right now, people either walk across the grass or they feel it's private property and walk out into the driving lanes. And we've been trying to mitigate that for
add an extra lane.
5 years, 6 years,
I've been at it since '05,
so we'll be all happy when it's done. That's all I have, thank you.
There'll also be some changes in the striping there, so that we have an expanded stacking lane.
Right, not only that, but from the intersection at 145, all the lines are going to be eradicated at once, and we're going to restripe that, and all the lines are going to move towards McDonald's. All right, we're going to tighten the lanes up about a foot or so along the McDonald's side, and that will give us more room when you're going westbound. If somebody has to have that Big Mac, and they're in that lane wanting to turn left into the Mechanicsville driveway, they've got to wait for traffic to clear. And right now, the way the lines are, there's no way to get around them around the car dealer. So we're shifting the lines to the south, so there'll be enough area to run around that car. So that's all part of the project.
If I remember a part of the McDonald's project, they were asked to provide 2 more feet into the McDonald's property, but at that point, it was like, what's the cost benefit? But is that required to meet this?
PennDOT made an arrangement with that property owner before McDonald's even bought it. And that was part of the deal, to get that driveway on Mechanicsville. We didn't like it, but that was the deal that PennDOT made for some right-of-way. We couldn't touch it. That's where we're stuck.
Good. Well, at this late hour, I'll keep my comments to myself. Mayor's report.
Quickly, just want to let you know that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and read just a little bit of this. 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in her lifetime, and it's the second most leading cause of death. 70% of women who die from breast cancer were among 20% of women not screened, and 75% of women with breast cancer have no family history or other risk. There are other things here. We'll have this posted tomorrow on our website if you want to get a look at that. Very important, and I should say that I'm fortunate to, after 12 years of being out from breast cancer, my wife is doing very well, and if you do the right things, you can still get nailed by it, but I'm just very happy that my wife is still with us. So, moving on, I have information in a packet that I gave you about the grass cutting concerns down at Home Depot. We're sending people, well, we have a bus going down to Longwood Gardens for their Christmas show, if anybody here is interested in doing that, if you like flowers. Well, we're going after the State Mayor's Association, once again, is looking at a way to get radar into the hands of municipal police departments. We're the only state in the country that doesn't allow municipal police to have radars. If we can get that, we can solve some problems with traffic in there. That's about it. There are other things here, but it is late.
Two points.
Sure.
We landed a grant
Oh.
for the,
Yeah, we got a $36,800 grant for the Recreation Comprehensive Plan, and a $22,000 grant to help fund a look at whether we can build a recreation center down at the area where we had the Jefferson Pool. I don't think we're going to see that come back at all. So we're trying to see what we can do to provide for alternate recreation opportunities.
Well, if I could say, let's get the Rec Comprehensive Committee together so we could look at these things
Yeah.
moving forward. Without a committee, we can't do anything. Now, we have a grant, but do we have a committee?
I can't give anything to the state until after January 1st.
Okay, but we still have a lot of legwork to do
We have work
to get there. And that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
We can't
right.
put the cart before the horse. We have to, get on the horse and ride it. So-
Yeah, we can't do anything until after January 1st.
What you're saying is we cannot hire the consultant
We
to
can't
support.
hire the- Well, only at that point can we give them a copy of our request for proposals.
So we could start the proposal process.
We started that, and we missed 2 months here, and we'll start up again.
The only thing is you may have conditions that need to be met by the grant that would have to be included in the RFP. That you might, if there's any kind of, as part of the grant process that you have to include in the RFP.
Right, yeah.
That would be my only concern.
I have a meeting tomorrow with Rick Bogart. Go through some other things.
And the comprehensive plan is not a new beast. I mean, we should learn from what other municipalities did as a starting point to tailor what we do. As far as an RFP qualifications, there's prescribed
We
steps.
already have drafts of
Okay.
RFPs that
Right.
we're ready to go when the
good.
need is.
I have a question. In terms of the rec plan, how does it impact our upcoming budget discussions?
Well, the rec plan will be part of the budget, next year's budget. So that's been, the match and the township's portion will be included in the budget. That and the study at Jefferson Park.
Okay. You good, Mayor?
Yeah, I'm good.
Madam Treasurer?
I sent you a report, sorry they were late, I just got them today, but we transitioned from Fulton Bank. But you'll see there's no money left in any of the accounts.
Everything's gone.
It's all gone.
We're
so
insolvent.
I have nothing to report, no.
Why are we even here? Let's just get out. You mean, the one in the middle? We're insolvent, Mr. Schneider? Forget about it.
It's gone.
Problem solved.
So with our new system with TD Bank, thanks to Jack and to Debbie, we have a new system where every day we scan the checks right to the bank. So any taxpayers, money's going to be directly deposited to the bank along with cash. It's going to be a more efficient system. It's going to work a lot better. We're not going to get behind. Having growing pains with TD Bank, they're extremely services they can provide.
Very security conscious, a lot more so than Fulton Bank, and, everything has to be just so.
Yeah, we, actually about a month we're with them already. Well, 3
No,
weeks.
3
Yeah,
weeks, 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. We collected from 2020, the G.H. Harris for business privilege. They're collecting delinquent taxes on that. The school district daily on how much we collected for them. I wanted to bring up, and I don't know really how this works. I've been getting a stack of businesses that have licenses in the township that aren't paying their taxes because they say if they don't make 14 days or less, they don't have to pay taxes, business privilege taxes. Find out where that's written.
I've never heard that. I mean, there's Nexus and whatnot, but never had 14 days, we don't have to pay.
Yeah, they're writing 0, less than 14 days. I
Mrs.
don't know where that
Rackus.
ever came from.
Mrs. Rackus, if there's a contractor that just visits the township one time, are they still obligated to, yes? I understand, but I mean,
By
what's
ordinance,
your knowledge?
They have to claim that as taxable.
I was just asking what her knowledge of the situation was,
They've done in
because
the township, yes.
I know I work in other municipalities where they waive like the first 5, because you're only there on a very limited basis, but I'm just asking.
$100,000 contract to sell
I understand.
computer equipment. I mean, they obviously want the
Right.
taxes on that.
Right.
Is that on the form that previously somebody put on there. And I don't know where that ever came from.
14 days?
What's on the form?
14 days or less, if you don't do business in the township, 14 days or less, you don't have to pay business privilege tax. So I don't really know where that came
Direct those kind of questions to our attorney.
Yeah.
Because I don't recall that when I was treasurer.
Could you research that?
I don't know where that comes from, and I don't know why it's on the form, so I didn't recommend it, but maybe something that's just old, so.
And the last thing some businesses do, here they automatically renew it. Yes, well, you come in and pay for your license, they go over to development, and then approves it or disapproves it.
You request the subcontractors are gonna be working on that job. So just so you know, other towns.
Yeah, but if they're 1099, see, I've fallen into that in other municipalities, yeah.
And the last question I have is, we're talking about pigeons.
Yeah.
If he's selling pigeons, does he need a license? Because I'll send him one.
Yeah, good point.
I looked him up, he doesn't have a license, so I thought maybe.
Jack, pigeon licenses, I don't,
Why would that get an exemption?
Yeah.
because he's not supposed to be doing it in the first
It
place.
doesn't matter if you're going ahead and you're doing income tax and you're selling drugs, you have to report that money. And that's the law. You can get caught for not failure to file on that. Doesn't matter whether it's legal or not.
That's how Al Capone got in trouble.
That's all you have? Well, after this long, long night,
A good way to end
do I
it.
have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Thank you. If the staff could stay for another 3 hours, that way you don't need to go home, you could just. I'm hungry. Go figure, Tom.